Before the end, a secret was whispered, one that shook the very foundation of the world. Hidden beneath the surface of international conflicts lies a truth so powerful it threatens to rewrite everything we think we know about Israel, Iran, and their battle for supremacy. But why is this conflict unfolding? What is the truth they don't want you to see? What if I told you that the war you're hearing about is not just about power or politics, but something far deeper, something that has been kept in the shadows for centuries, and it's just now coming to light? What is really at stake here goes far beyond the borders of these two nations. It's a matter of global security, unseen alliances, and a hidden struggle for control of the future. In this video, you will uncover the layers of deception and gain insight into the true motivations driving this conflict. We will dive into the unknown, examining the unspoken truths behind Israel's aggressive stance, Iran's nuclear ambitions, and the high-stakes chess game being played on the world stage. What is the true reason behind this? Why are the world's superpowers so invested in this deadly dance? And what do these tensions mean for your future, your safety, and your understanding of global politics? As we reveal the shocking connections and unravel the forces at play, you'll learn why everything you've been told might not be the full story. Prepare yourself for the truth that has been hidden in plain sight, and brace for what's to come. The battle for power, Israel and Iran's deep-rooted conflict. It's a story that has been unfolding for decades, one of quiet tension, unspoken fears, and unrelenting ambitions. The conflict between Israel and Iran is not a simple battle over territory or politics. It is a battle for the soul of the Middle East. Every move, every word spoken by the leaders of these nations carries the weight of generations of history, bloodshed, and belief. For Israel, it's not just about defense. It's about survival. The Israeli military machine is one of the most advanced in the world, but its strength goes beyond technology. It is driven by a need to protect a homeland that has been repeatedly threatened, not only by neighboring nations, but by ideologies that seek to wipe it from the map. Israel's leaders, from Netanyahu to every general in the IDF, are keenly aware that their very existence is under siege. The blood of history runs deep in their veins, and they fight not just for today, but for the survival of their people. But what of Iran? Behind the veils of its religious rhetoric, there lies a calculated pursuit of power. Iran's pursuit of nuclear technology is not merely about weapons. It's a statement of defiance, a declaration that they will not be silenced. For years, Iran has slowly but steadily built a web of influence across the region, from Syria to Yemen, from Iraq to Lebanon, weaving a complex web of alliances. But it's the nuclear issue that brings the world to the brink of catastrophe. In a world where power is not just measured in armies, but in the ability to control weapons of mass destruction, Iran's nuclear ambitions are its ultimate weapon. The question remains, why? What drives this conflict? Why are these two ancient nations locked in a never-ending dance of aggression and defense? The answer lies not only in the present, but in a deeper, more spiritual struggle. Israel believes its existence is divinely ordained, and Iran sees itself as a protector of the oppressed, the true guardian of the faith. When belief and power collide, the result is nothing short of catastrophic. But what if these beliefs, these ideologies, could be the very thing that prevents peace from ever being achieved? Could the greatest threat to both nations be their unwillingness to compromise on the one thing that defines them, their identity? The unseen hand, how the U.S. shapes the conflict. Israel and the United States share a bond that goes beyond politics. It is a bond of mutual survival. From the moment the United States recognized Israel as a state in 1948, the foundation for one of the most powerful alliances in modern history was laid. But as the decades have passed, the relationship has deepened, transforming into something far more complex. Under the leadership of President Donald Trump, this bond became even more pronounced. With his unwavering support for Netanyahu and his policies, the alliance between the two countries reached new heights. But this connection goes beyond mere politics. The US provides Israel with the military power that makes its survival possible. The American-made weapons that fill Israel's arsenal are not just tools of war, they are lifelines. Yet, Israel's dependence on American aid is a double-edged sword. While the US provides critical support, it also has its own interests to protect. The American military presence in the region, the ongoing war on terror, and the struggle for control over oil and resources all play a role in shaping the US stance on Israel. But this strategic relationship is not without its dangers. What happens when two nations with their own agendas collide? What happens when the powerful hand of the United States begins to slip from Israel's grasp? Can Israel continue to rely on the support of the US? Or is it possible that the very relationship that has kept it alive could now be the source of its greatest vulnerability? The truth behind Netanyahu's words, a strategy of psychological warfare. The rhetoric coming from Israel in recent months is not merely political, it is psychological. Netanyahu's recent calls for Iranians to rise up against their government are not just words. They are a deliberate strategy designed to weaken the Iranian regime from within. By stoking unrest among the Iranian people, Israel hopes to undermine the very foundation of the government in Tehran. But it's more than that. Netanyahu is playing a dangerous game of psychological warfare, a battle of minds and hearts. The goal is not only to destabilize Iran, but to create a narrative that the Iranian people can no longer ignore. But this is not just about psychological warfare. This is a fight for influence. The digital age has brought about a new form of conflict, one that is fought not with bombs and bullets, but with information and propaganda. Israel and Iran are both engaged in a cyber war, each side seeking to control the narrative, to manipulate the truth, to create a version of reality that serves their own interests. This is the future of warfare, where words and images are the weapons, and the battlefield is the mind. But in this battle, what is the cost of victory? The power to control the minds of millions is a dangerous one. The lines between truth and falsehood blur, and soon the very fabric of reality begins to unravel. When propaganda replaces fact, when perception becomes more important than reality, what happens to the people caught in the middle? This is the world we live in today, a world where war is not only fought with weapons but with words. And in this world, the greatest weapon of all is the ability to make people believe what you want them to believe. But as the stakes grow higher, we must ask ourselves, what is the price of this battle? What happens when we lose sight of the truth in our quest for victory? Through these intricate webs of politics, belief, and military strategy, one thing becomes clear. The war between Israel and Iran is not just a fight for power. It is a fight for the soul of the Middle East, and ultimately for the soul of the world. As the battle continues, we must ask ourselves, in the end, who will be the true victor, and at what cost? The nuclear dilemma, the danger lurking beneath Iran's determination. Imagine the silence of the desert night, broken only by the hum of machines working tirelessly beneath the surface, machines that hold the power to destroy everything in their path. Iran's pursuit of nuclear power is not merely an ambition, it is a cry to be heard, a bold declaration that they will not be silenced by the world. The stakes could not be higher. Behind every enriched uranium molecule, every centrifuge spinning, lies the question, What price is the world willing to pay to stop Iran's march towards nuclear weapons? This isn't just about Iran's desires. It's about the very soul of the Middle East. The truth is, this pursuit is a mirror of Iran's identity, one shaped by defiance, by a desire to break free from the chains of Western domination. To understand Iran's nuclear ambitions is to understand its deeper struggles, its longing for recognition, for respect, for power. Every move made by Iran sends ripples throughout the region, challenging the balance of power, testing the patience of those who see this as a threat to peace and security. But is it only about power? What if there is more? What if Iran's quest for nuclear capability is a reflection of something greater, something ancient, something rooted in the pride of a nation that has been at the crossroads of empires for millennia? Iran's leaders, echoing the voices of their ancestors, understand that power is not just about military might. It's about symbolism, about sending a message to the world that they are not to be ignored. The nuclear question is not just a political one. It's a matter of faith, of destiny. For many in Iran, nuclear power is seen as a divine right, a way to protect their people and to assert their place in the world. But this belief, this unwavering resolve, leads to a dangerous crossroads. Iran is not alone in this struggle. The nations of the world stand poised, watching, waiting for the inevitable clash of wills. As Iran's nuclear capabilities grow, so too does the tension that could ignite a firestorm. And the consequences are not just regional, they are global. What happens if Iran, a nation already at odds with much of the world, gains access to nuclear weapons? The very balance of the Middle East will shift. The fragile alliances that have kept the region in check will crumble. What is at stake is not merely power, it is the future of peace itself. The global fallout, how a war between Israel and Iran could redraw the world map. The world is a fragile place, a tapestry woven together with delicate threads of peace, power, and influence. But what happens when those threads begin to unravel? The potential for a full-scale war between Israel and Iran threatens to do just that, to tear the fabric of global stability apart. This is no longer just a conflict between two nations. It is a war that will have far-reaching consequences, touching every corner of the globe. The question is not whether this war will affect us, it's how deeply it will cut. If Israel and Iran go to war, the ripple effects will be felt in every part of the world. The Middle East, already a tinderbox, will ignite, but the flames will spread. The United States, with its unshakable support for Israel, will be drawn in. Russia, with its alliance with Iran, will not stand idly by. And China, always watching, will see an opportunity to extend its influence. As the world's superpowers engage in this high-stakes game of diplomacy and warfare, the rest of the world will watch with bated breath. Nations will be forced to choose sides, alliances will shift, and the very structure of global power could be altered forever. This is not just about Israel and Iran. It's about the future of international relations, the future of global peace. But there's more at play here than just politics and power. This is a battle of ideologies. Israel and Iran are not just fighting for land, they are fighting for the very principles that shape their existence. Israel, founded on the idea of a Jewish homeland, sees its survival as a sacred mission, a divine right. Iran, meanwhile, views itself as the protector of oppressed peoples, a beacon of resistance against the West. Both nations are willing to sacrifice everything for these ideals, and in the process, they risk dragging the world into a conflict that no one can control. And what of the human cost? Behind every policy, every military strategy, lies the reality of human lives, families torn apart, children orphaned, cities reduced to rubble. War is not just about power, it is about pain, about suffering that knows no boundaries. The true cost of this conflict will be paid by those who have no stake in the outcome, the innocent civilians caught in the crossfire, the families torn apart by the brutality of war. The world is at a crossroads. Will it choose the path of peace, or will it be swept up in the tide of war? The consequences of this decision will shape the future for generations to come. A path to peace. Can diplomacy break the chains of conflict? But amidst the rising tension, there remains a flicker of hope, a chance that peace could still be achieved. It's easy to lose sight of that hope when the drums of war beat louder and louder, when the rhetoric of violence drowns out the voices of reason. But peace is not impossible. It never has been. The key to peace lies in understanding the motivations of both Israel and Iran, understanding the fears that drive them, and understanding the forces at play in the broader international community. Israel's fears of annihilation are real, shaped by centuries of persecution and violence. Iran's desire for recognition, for power, is also real, driven by a deep-seated belief in its role as a regional leader. The question is, can these fears be addressed through diplomacy? Can these ancient wounds be healed by understanding and compromise? The path to peace will not be easy. It will require courage, humility, and a willingness to listen. But it is possible. History has shown us time and time again that peace is not something that simply falls into our laps. It must be fought for, negotiated for, and built from the ground up. The international community must play its part in this process. The United States, Russia, and China must all be willing to engage in honest, open dialogue. They must put aside their own interests and work towards a common goal: peace. But this is not something that can be achieved overnight. It will take time, patience, and a willingness to change course when necessary. As the world watches, we must remember that peace is not just the absence of war. It is the presence of justice, of understanding, and of compassion. It is a world where nations put aside their differences for the greater good of all. Will we get there? Only time will tell. But the first step must be taken now. The future of the Middle East and the future of the world depends on it. A new dawn for peace, seeking harmony amidst chaos. In the midst of chaos, in the heart of conflict, there lies a truth often overlooked. Peace is always within reach, even when the world seems darkest. Imagine standing in the ruins, in the aftermath of countless battles, and seeing, not destruction, but the possibility of rebuilding. This is the vision that must guide us, a vision that transcends borders, ideologies, and the pain of history. The road to peace between Israel and Iran is not paved with ease, but it is one that leads to healing, a healing that this world desperately needs. The tension between these two nations is not simply about land, resources, or power. It is rooted in a much deeper place, the human desire to be seen, to be heard, to have one's voice resonate across the ages. Israel, with its legacy of survival against all odds, seeks validation for its existence. Iran, with its profound sense of destiny, longs for recognition on the world stage. Both nations, in their own ways, are struggling to affirm their place in a world that often seems indifferent to their pain. But what if the true path forward lies not in further confrontation, but in understanding? What if the answer to this eternal struggle is not found in victory, but in empathy? It is only through understanding one another's fears, desires, and hopes that true reconciliation can occur. As we look at the people behind the political leaders, the children who grow up in the shadow of war, we begin to see the undeniable truth. The future of both nations and of the world lies in our ability to choose peace over hate, healing over destruction. Israel and Iran stand at a precipice. But here's the question: can we, as a global community, help them take that first step towards peace? Can we offer a hand in the midst of their pain, not as victors, but as brothers and sisters? Just as the prophets of old called for reconciliation, for unity in the face of division. We too must take up this mantle and call for a new dawn, one where both nations can find healing. Consider the example of past peace agreements, moments in history where seemingly irreconcilable forces came together for the greater good. The Camp David Accords, the Oslo Accords, these were not just political victories, they were symbols of hope. Hope that, even in the most turbulent of times, reconciliation is possible. We may not have the power to force peace, but we have the ability to create the conditions for it to blossom. Healing begins with the acknowledgement of wounds. Both Israel and Iran carry scars that span centuries, scars that have shaped their nations and their people. But healing also requires courage, the courage to confront these wounds, to lay down arms, and to listen. For peace is not a passive act. It is a conscious choice, a daily commitment to turning away from the patterns of violence that have defined too much of human history. And this is where we must begin, by recognizing that both nations are worthy of peace. Both have the right to exist, to flourish, to find their place in the world without fear. The world does not need another war. It needs a vision of peace that transcends borders, that embraces humanity in all its diversity and complexity. This is the promise we must hold on to, even when the path seems unclear, when the road to peace is shrouded in darkness. It is in the darkest moments that the brightest lights shine. The world stands at a crossroads. The choice before us is simple. Do we continue down the path of war, or do we reach out to one another, embracing the possibility of peace? Every step towards peace, no matter how small, is a step away from destruction, from division, from despair. The time for change is now. It is time to break the chains of hatred, to heal the wounds of the past, and to build a future founded on understanding. The power lies within us all, within every leader, within every individual, to make the choice for peace. Let us stand together and embrace the possibility of a world where no more lives are lost, where no more families are torn apart, and where the light of hope shines brightly for all to see. The future is ours to shape. Will we choose peace? In a world consumed by chaos, there exists a quiet, often overlooked truth, that peace, though fragile, is within our reach. The weight of history and the shadows of past mistakes weigh heavily on us, yet the future is still ours to shape. When we step back and look at the bigger picture, we realize that every choice we make ripples through time, for better or worse. So I ask you, what kind of world do we want to build? What legacy do we want to leave behind? In the face of the turmoil between Israel and Iran, it can feel like we're staring into an abyss, a seemingly endless cycle of war, destruction, and suffering. Yet amid this darkness, there are flickers of hope. The call to peace is not a distant dream, but a challenge that lies before us. Israel, Iran, and every other nation on this earth are not simply caught in a web of power and politics. They are the children of God, just like you and me, struggling to find their way in a world that often seems too broken to fix. But the power to heal lies within us. The world's greatest changemakers didn't wait for peace to come to them. They sought it out, they fought for it, and they prayed for it. This is where we find our strength. The question we must ask ourselves isn't whether the road to peace will be difficult. The question is, are we willing to walk it? Every war is a battle for more than land or power. It's a battle for the hearts and souls of humanity. It's the eternal struggle between love and hate, between building and destroying. And the thing is, this fight is not just for those who are directly involved. It's for all of us. When we allow hatred to grow in one place, it infects the whole world. When we allow violence to take root, it spreads far beyond the battlefield. That's why the call to peace isn't just a call for Israel and Iran. It's a call for all of us. In these trying times, we cannot afford to stand idly by. We must understand that the chains of conflict and division can only be broken when we choose to heal. Healing begins with a single act, the decision to look beyond the divisions and see each other as brothers and sisters. It begins with the willingness to set aside differences, to recognize that despite our unique histories and struggles, we all share the same hopes and dreams. Israel and Iran may seem worlds apart, their leaders locked in a battle for survival. But the truth is, they share something much deeper, a shared humanity. And this shared humanity is what can ultimately bring them to the table, not in a spirit of war, but in a spirit of healing. The world is waiting for these nations to take that step, to show that peace is not only possible, but worth fighting for. And just as Israel and Iran have the power to choose peace, so do we. Think about it. What if every one of us chose peace, even in the smallest of moments? What if we chose to forgive, to listen, to understand, and to seek common ground? The power of these small actions, multiplied across the world, is immeasurable. Each act of kindness, each choice to build rather than destroy, creates waves of healing that ripple outward, touching lives we may never even know about. And it's not just about choosing peace, it's about being part of a movement that transcends borders, that breaks down the walls between us and unites us in something greater than ourselves. Imagine a world where leaders choose dialogue over destruction, where people choose love over hate. It might seem impossible, but with every prayer, with every small act of kindness, we get one step closer. As you watch this, I ask you to reflect on the power that lies within you. You might feel like you're just one person, that your voice doesn't matter, but I assure you it does. Your voice, your choices, your actions, they matter more than you can imagine. When we choose peace, we choose life. When we choose healing, we choose a future worth living for. This is where I need your support. If this video has touched your heart, if it has brought you closer to the peace and understanding we so desperately need, I humbly ask you to show your support. Every like, every share, every comment, it all contributes to the message of hope and healing we are working to spread. Together we can make a difference. If you feel this message has brought light into your life, if it has given you clarity in the midst of darkness, I ask you to consider sharing this with others. Help spread the word, help share the light. Your support, no matter how small, is invaluable in keeping this mission alive. In the end, we are all part of something much larger than ourselves, and in this moment we have the opportunity to be the change the world so desperately needs. So I ask you again, will you choose peace? Will you choose to be a part of the healing? Your actions today can shape the world of tomorrow. Together, we can rise above the turmoil, we can rise above the pain, and we can create a world where peace reigns supreme. Thank you from the depths of my heart for being here, for being part of this journey toward healing and hope. Your support means more than words can express, and with it, we can continue to spread this message of peace to every corner of the world. Together, we are stronger. Together, we can build a future worth living.